But they hear what the people they talk. Want to get a shakeleti love. See love when I wanna get another one. I go take and do waiting I love. Waiting you love, oh. Maybe waiting I love, oh. Waiting I love, I go do and with all my heart, oh. Go no be vodka. Stand on the ginger. But I know I know the ways that.
Now it's not funny, I need that soul. I'll be right, Papa. Oh, and this why I know, why I know, I'm a yes, oh, at you may, when I was praying, I'm the movie. Yeah.
Of the drop of the land, forward and secure future. People love our God. From victory to victory, the NDC shall lead. Stable democrat, our strength to unity. From victory to victory, the NDC shall lead. Stable democrat, our strength to unity. Suzuza. Arise for Ghana, a patron of the land. Forward and seek your future. Development our God. From victory to victory, the end is surely. Able Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. From victory to victory, the end is surely. Able Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. Victory! Victory! It's our land. Victory! It's our land. JJ is a winner. Arise for Ghana, of the drop of the land. Forward and secure future. Development our goal. From victory to victory, the end is surely. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. From victory to victory, the end is surely. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity. From victory to victory, the end is surely. Stable Democrat.
Abraham, I am real. Now, when he made that so, Abraham, my father, and Tibuamio, Wamia, Rabia, Amamatu, Nya, Wechuma, Woni ya watin. Araya yamrao mira na wasasuni yani daso abira ya baba oh entibuaye oh wayana rabie amayasu miaya wechuma oh echuma wona wa freye.
At this stage, salute and give particular recognition to the Bank of Ghana, which has come under unfair criticism for taking the necessary measures which help pull the economy back from the brink. The Bank of Ghana provided needed financing to the government at that critical moment.
See toilets, amamu. Yeah, be see toilets. In all, yeah, be see 8-unit toilets, 4 8-unit toilets, 32 toilets in all.
They take your IC. This government, they put delivery trackers, also toilet. Toilet be district assembly them work. Why national government, they tell people waiting you do, then toilet to the district assembly. That one we know the counter.
Look at the economic management team. It is quite clearly a fantastic team. Professor Jambafo, Dr. Akotose, Dr. Afriye Akoto, Honorable Alan Chiramanting, Boachi Ejaku, Ken Oforiata, Senior Minister Yao Osafo Mafu. What a solid team. In fact, can anyone remember the NDC economic management team? I'm sure they themselves cannot remember who their economic management team was. Kukrudu, fellow Kukrudites, we were elected to fix the problems, and I'm glad to report that we are fixing the problems and we are putting in place the policies that will drive the economic transformation of this country. It is very clear that the economy is beginning to respond to the policies of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo.
And the fuel price is a cost.
Yeah, so
Obibeka, hypocrisy, dishonesty. What are you doing for political capital? The fuel price wars.
Oh yes, but I think
are you also incompetent, uncaring, unfeeling? Have you also thrown all reasonable feelings to the dogs?
Kwame,
yes, sir.
I stand by those statements, those words in the first place. But I think that let's put this in context, Wati. Because we had a government that put us through 4 years of doom so. That is very, very difficult for businesses, for individuals, for the productivity of the nation as a whole. Yeda Sunsumo, 4 years. Between 2016 or 2017 and 2019, average increases of 13.5%. So we have increased at about half, more than less than half what they have done, what they did. So it's a complete difference. But not only did we increase fuel prices, that is fine, but we have brought at a much lower rate. In addition to that, we reduced electricity prices. We restored teacher training allowance. We restored nursing training allowance. We paid the teachers arrears from the 2 to 3 months one. We cancelled that policy. We've restored the NHIS back from the cash and carry state that it was in. We brought NAPCO to cushion graduate unemployment. So if you take it in context, the management of the economy generally and the provision to cushion people from hardships allowed the country to bear this increase in the fuel price, the lower increase in the fuel price, much better. Of course, we are talking about a 13.5 increase on average by us, but a much...
John Mahama says he has a new idea. And what is the new idea? He says he wants a 24-hour economy. 24-hour economy. He doesn't even understand that policy. Today in Ghana, our hospitals work 24 hours. Our electricity company works 24 hours. Our water company works 24 hours. Our phone companies work 24 hours. Miniature bars work 24 hours. Isn't it? Today, because of digitalization, The banks, you can transfer money 24 hours. You can receive money 24 hours. Isn't it? So he doesn't understand his own policy. It does not make
global phenomena. Skip Cote d'Ivoire and all the surrounding countries and only attack Ghana. How? How does it happen?
We have faced the problem of fake birth certificates and the bureaucracy and corruption at the birth certificate registry. So what we have done is to digitalize the processes at the birth certificate and link their systems with the Ghana Health Service. MPP, Yambai, Nanado Dankwa Kufuado, Yabai. Yedi impuntu bebre aba Ghana mine. Obia be totals. Ohane edunebako. 111 hospitals are YBC. Sajima ye no. Ebinsi da wagana ha.
Where I want to see us go in the next few years is to move public transport completely from a dependence on petrol and diesel to fully electric vehicles. That is really where Ghana ought to go.
And the Capital said, economic management team, your chairman, Dr Bawumia. Now, sir, only for very committee now we say, oh, it's less food diet. Oh, it's not a food diet. Oh, man, who and food table, oh, man, what you know.
Very good morning to you, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to you, comrades of the NDC across the world. My name is Fiifi Asante Mparey. I'm on the hot seat this morning. Welcome once again to Hit Africa TV, and we're presenting this from United Kingdom, to be precise, London. This afternoon, we thank you, depending on which part of the world you are. It's morning, it's afternoon, it's evening. We've come to your homes, we've come to your workplaces, we've come to into your cars, depending where you are and what sort of device you are using. We want you to stay with us. This is a very important press that we are going to do this morning, which is coming from us to you. Can I first and foremost introduce my panels to you, and we're also going to introduce the moderator of this broadcast to you this morning. The show we are about to speak about, or the broadcast or the press, is an event that took place last week, and this is a reaction from the NDC UK and Ireland Communication Bureau and the Communication Chapter, which is going to comment on Bawumia Speaks. Bawumia spoke last week, and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, what did he actually say? There were things that Bawumia has mentioned that which he's got a lot of reaction from, but from our perspective, which is the UK and NDC UK and Ireland perspective, we are here this morning to also speak on the issues. First and foremost, I'll introduce to you Conrad Dumba, Chairman of the NDC UK and Ireland Chapter; Kenneth Johnson, President, Pro Forum UK and Chairman, NDC Telford Branch; Elijah Timud, Chairman, NDC East London Branch; and my one and only Kwame Owusu, Chapter Communication Officer, NDC UK and Ireland. There are a lot of heavyweights this morning on your show, so please stay with us. What we will ask you to do, kindly share the video for us, touch or click the like or the heart button to also like the show. Please call a friend to call a friend, they say, or tell a friend to tell a friend. So please stay with us and enjoy this morning broadcast coming from NDC UK and Ireland chapter. Thank you.
Arise for Ghana, oppression of the land, forward and seek your future. People of men our God, from vision to victory, the end is surely. Able Democrat, Ghana. Our strength in unity, from vision to victory, the end is surely. Stable Democrat, Ghana, our strength in unity.
Thank you once again and welcome back. Thank you, producer. I'm a pay a VA and you marry yet the show strong if this part of Enyiresi a brute remember UK airbrow. Yet the show ye airbrow reaction ye Bawumia Dr Bawumia Echo Kasai no. Na nea obabedi chiame ewo sa show yi ho anase obroni beka ne se moderator Alfred Nwini na Alfred Nwini bedi show yi ho chiame show yi show chenchenche yedi feed this part of the world bro if you say Bawumia kasa nkrofo bebre akasa na UK and Ireland chapter ye nya ho kwan enkasa nti enne and yesi a da yesi yet to a sea ho say ye bamu fiem ye bamu jumem ye bamu kemu ye baba biamu ye wiase babiamu bia ne enso ya baba be kire adwen na ya chirechire mu ba obi akokasa no ensem bi a ebi a wanka ne ye atro bi a odi kire Ghana fo yen de ye adwuma ne say ye ba ne baba ba chirechire mu na Ghana fo ate ase if you say ekwa sa akwantu ye tu ni pen yes, you see a boss a young transit, Emma Ubimba, no man be Ghana frontro, na on Sagana, non Fagana and Conechibim, into Jumei, I di broyi. Omwa, Baba di Jumemu, Akotepan, and me bom ding or brofudimo, no, I may saturate with primo. Eye, Koradumba, NDC UK and Ireland chapter, no, Oba, on the chairman, Yakasa chairman, na on any penia. Odi sa afekudie no ano ewo UK and Ireland ojina NDC anemu ene ye wo Kenneth Johnson so ye opani pa ye wo kuo bi e wo UK and Ireland a ye friend Pro Forum ono no odi oye pani a oda no ono san ye pani a oda NDC Telford branch ano ene ye wo Elijah Timothy nso ye pani pa a ono nso so oba NDC mu ewo UK and Ireland hase nso a East London so ono eno odi akoten a odasa fekudie pani fekudie no ano ena oba nso a yewo Kwame Owusu echa me a nipa ba kope me boss ba kope ono nso oye okasamufo pani a oda NDC UK and Ireland chapter no nano ena sena medika kan ye no ni obeye moderator oboni bibi moderator obedi djumadie no ho chiame eye Alfred Nwini nti ye djumadie baba hye so me pa cho bomodia na boayen bomodia na share frobi no bi nsu frobi yɛn nyinaa yɛndi dwumadie yi kama yɛda mo ase.
Abraham, I am round. Now when he made that so, Abraham, my Baba, and Tibuamio, Wamio, Wamia, Rabia, Amamatu, Yaya, Wechuma, Wuni ya walking. Araya yamrau mira now was on 20 and if that's so Abira ya papa oh and why na rabia amaya ya wechuma.
Thank you once again. So at this time, moderator, I will hand over to you for us to kickstart the broadcast.
Thank you very much, Fiifi, and thank you all our cherished viewers out there. Really good opportunity to meet all of you on this platform once again, and thank you for all our panelists today, who I definitely believe are going to do a great service to this show. With all our viewers, I think this is not the first time we're having this kind of immersive experience. We've had those exposures before, and today is just going to be another fantastic opportunity moving forward. And looking at the issues at hand and making sure we are actually dealing with them as we go. As somebody would say, the NDC 2024, we're not coming to play. We are coming to face the issues as they kind of like really raise their ugly heads up. And one of those opportunities is just today. So as Fiifi has already said, my name is Alfred Mwene. I am the communication officer in Birmingham, but I would say it's a great opportunity and a great pleasure to be on this show and as a moderator. I'm not going to take that much time, but just to give you a very brief context of what is going to be happening today. So we've all probably at the moment these days, the great facility of social media is definitely giving us all the information we need. We've probably listened to Dr. Bawumia speak. We have most of us probably were glued onto our TV just to catch a glimpse of what he brings to Ghana. The NDC, we always open-minded, but after listening to that speech, it is important that we really unpick some of the very atrocious lies that have been put out there. And it is in our place to make sure that the good people of Ghana deserve better. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what he says now. It is about how people are feeling in their pockets. And if we allow these to go on, and we don't really defend those kind of bad track records that they have put there and still trying to peddle those lies, we will not be doing a very good service to our nation. So that is why today you are going to hear from our great panelists today, and they will be speaking to some of the issues that he has raised up. And at the end, we are going to take a very entrenched position as the chapter, and for that matter, NDC, and make the people of Ghana understand that this is not the place for some of those to carry on going. But it's also to give a lot of people who probably won't understand most of the issues to really unearth them and see where our country stands. Moving forward in 2024 elections is going to be a very crucial time. And we, the NDC, have the responsibility to take the people of Ghana to where they really deserve to be and not where they are today. So today, it is a day for us, and we want you to be part of this experience. Please share with us whatever your experiences are. We want to hear from you. We want you to be with us all throughout this program. And in the end, I can promise you that there will be some really kind of like good experiences moving forward, and also giving us the chance to prove who we are moving into the 2024 elections. So I'm going to start very straightforward. We will be giving all our panelists just 20 minutes to go into the speech and unpick some of the issues there. And possibly, we always say, look, NDC is an open-minded party. We are really going in there and making sure we just say, look, if the due is given, let it be. If he has done some great job, we will say yes. And if there are issues with that speech, we will say
the stage and help him to get his background. It's not good.
So, with much ado, I'm going to start off with our able chairman, chapter chairman, Conrad Dumba, who is going to be looking into that speech carefully and taking us through some of the most important issues that needed to be addressed in that issue. And like I said, whilst Chairman Conrad is doing justice to that part of the speech, I would ask my viewers to let the comments come in, share your views on it, and in the end, we will be allowing some questions as we go. Please stay with us. Chairman Conrad, welcome to the show. We are so delighted to have you, and I just want to say thank you so much for making the time. I know it's very busy these days. But hey, this is us, NDC. We have to make sure we put our feet down. The people in Ghana, we here in the diaspora, we owe everybody that great opportunity. Let us share what we think is going wrong with our country. And I definitely will tell you a lot of things are going wrong. And you know that. So we want to hear from you. And what did you make of that speech? Generally, what were some of the most important and near misses that we should be looking at? We want you to take us through that journey in the next 20 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother Alfred. I hope my line is clear.
Yes, it is very clear.
Yes. So it's my privilege today to be in this rather privileged session, if you like, to have the opportunity to share with Ghanaians, engage with Ghanaians on our thoughts on the rather unfortunate statements that our brother Vice President Dr. Bawumia made last Thursday, I believe, on the 7th of February. So without much ado, let me first say a very good morning to all our viewers and listeners. Good morning to all our fellow citizens in Kwame Nkrumah's Ghana. And basically to say we are here doing this at the beckon of President Nana Addo to be citizens and not spectators. And therefore, as good citizens, as soon as our chapter heard of the unfortunate comments and statements that were put out by Dr. Bawumia, the current vice president, in his bid to try to wow Ghanaians into potentially considering him for the presidency, a very unlikely event, we thought we should share our thoughts and correct all the untruths and the distortions that Dr. Bawumia sought to foist on the good people of Ghana, and the repainting, or if you like, the negation of our proud economic history as members of the NDC. So on the 7th of February, as I said, the vice presidential candidate, the vice president and current presidential candidate of the MPP, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, delivered what we call some very desperate falsehood and vain spin, all cloaked as a vision for his presidential ambitions. Now, our great chapter, the NDC UK and Ireland chapter, was very saddened to hear that Bawumia, the one now referred to as the Lion One, has so debased the vice presidency to such an extent that he did not even think twice before pronouncing downright falsehood and visionless untruths to the respected Ghanaian populace. Now, whilst we do not have any doubt that the discerning citizens in Ghana saw through the Lion One's deceitful gimmicks and all of the academic dishonesty he put on full display on Thursday, we feel duty bound to expose the now infamous Dr. Pinocchio, as some people will call him, for all the half-truths, distortions, and deliberate untruths that he peddled on that particular day. Now, listeners and Ghanaians will recall that the Lion One opened his address in stating that Ghana's economy was in decline when the MPP inherited the reins of power on 7th of January 2017. However, what he forgets is that that is in very sharp contrast to the IMF's own forecast of GDP growth for 2017 and 2018, as contained in the third review of the IMF's extended credit facility that was dated October 2016. If you recall, Ghana had gone to the IMF for some support and ECF facility in 2015, and that came with regular reviews by the IMF. And each time the IMF did that, they put out a report. And if, for those who have got your computers by you, if you look up the IMF's country report number 16/321, which was basically the Ghana staff report, the Ghana country report, and you look through the summary of data they put in there, they properly forecast that Ghana was to grow at 7.4% in 2017 and 7.4% in 2017 and 8.4% in 2018. And this was based on the good work that had been done by President Mahama and his solid economic management team, not the kind of economic management team that Dr. Bawumia touts around, which cannot even tie his own shoelaces. If you go in that document, they clearly stated that the growth of the country in 2017 and 2018 was largely going to be determined by the two new on-stream oil wells that President Mahama was bringing on stream, by the electricity generation that President Mahama had, if you like, mobilized, the fastest mobilization of energy generating assets in our country's history to date. Now, all of these, together with many other prudent economic management strategies that President Mahama had implemented, were positioning Ghana to take off at 7.4% in 2017 and 8.4% in 2018. Now, if you then go to the budget, Ghana's own budget, go and look at the 2020 budget, Appendix 1A. It confirms that what the IMF had forecast in October 2016 actually came to pass. The growth rate for 2017 ended up at 8.4%, which is largely in sync with IMF's forecast of 7.4%. And for 2018, it was about 6.3%, which is again largely in line. So the question that one will ask the Lion One and his men is, what work did they do in 2017 that would have led to this growth? Now, those who are economically inclined will recall there is something you call a lag, basically between when you implement something and when it comes to fruition. The NPP did not read its budget till about March 2017. And so it took 3 months to even get their plan in place. After you read the budget, you then have to even implement it. You have to program it and implement it. That takes another 3 to 4 months. And you won't even begin to see the effects on the economy towards the end of the year. And that's why on average, it takes about 18 months for any solid economic strategy you put in place to actually bear fruition. And so clearly, even if you put aside the IMF's forecast for 2017-18, basic economic science, which I know Dr. Bawumia knows, will tell him that the fruits of growth in 2017 and at least the first half of 2018 were directly attributable to President Mahama. Now, how do you tell me that you inherited an economy at 3.4% in 2016, which then went to 7.4% and 8.4% subsequently as a declining economy? This defies all economic logic. Bawumia knows it, but sadly, he is refusing to use what he knows through his academic credentials to bring to bear truths on our political space. Now, one thing that we must also be clear is that the growth rates in 2017 and 2018 were largely driven by growth of at least 80% in the oil and gas subsector within 2017, which was driven directly by the two new oil wells, the work towards the two new oil wells that was being done. Because when in the run-up to all these major projects, a lot of work, a lot of investment went into it. Viewers will also recall that we had 19.4% growth in electricity subsector. This is largely driven by President Mahama's mobilization of car power, Mparey, and the many other energy initiatives that were put in place. Now, even as of 2020, the NPP had not put in any single megawatt of power. And so you can see clearly that that 19.4% down in electricity is clearly coming from President Mahama. Now, for those who, I will try to share my screen as I go along, just to be able to demonstrate some of the pictorial data in terms of what I'm talking about. Now, bear with me with a few technical concerns, but my screen will soon come up shortly. So just bear with me.
That's fine.
Now, if you can see my screen now, I'm showing you a table from the IMF's that shows the selected economic and financial indicators between 2014 to 2017, highlighting the specific ones. And this is where you can see on the right, 2017 7.4 and 2018 8.4. And so this comes straight from the IMF country report that I quoted of October 2016. This is at least 2 months before the MPP even secured power or won power on 7th of December. And so when Bawumia tells us that they inherited a declining economy, he is speaking on truths. Now, let me continue into further items that Bawumia talked of. Bawumia goes in and then tells us that his indicators were moving the right direction until COVID struck in 2020 and war broke out between Russia and Ukraine in 2022. However, what Bawumia has failed to tell us, as we have just looked at, is that the 2017 to 2018 and to extend 19 work progress we made in the economy was directly attributable to President Mahama. The other element that Bawumia has failed to tell us is that by the time the MPP's economic strategy was kicking in, it started destroying the economy. And that is why as early as December 2019, the World Bank and the IMF issued a debt sustainability analysis. This is a report that they always issue every single year. If you go back to previous years, you would see that they were all looking good. But as of December 2019, the World Bank and the IMF were warning us that we were at a very high risk of debt distress. This is 4 clear months before COVID even struck Ghana, somewhere around end of March or March 2020. And if we even want to remind Bawumia and his people, in fact, it is COVID that saved them, because COVID brought in almost 30 billion cedis worth of revenue or of free money. Some were grants, some were loans from IMF and World Bank. We only needed about 12 billion to tackle COVID. They got about 30 billion. And so it can even be argued that COVID actually brought in a lot of money that helped to delay Ghana's eventual debt issue. And that is why when you then begin to look at by the time that COVID was being lifted somewhere around September 2021, we were no longer getting the free money from IMF and World Bank. What happened? We went bankrupt. We couldn't pay and we were kicked out of the capital markets. So if you look at it, it is very clear and obvious to anyone looking at the Ghanaian economy that the problems of Ghana's economy today can be directly linked to MPP's reckless borrowing between 2017 to 2019 and onwards, where they were borrowing an average of $3 billion every year and pumping it straight into KK parties and consumption. No investment. That is why we saw that public debt soared from 120 billion when the MPP took power on 7th of January 2017. Basically at 56% debt to GDP ratio, 120 billion to over 600 billion as of 2022, making it about 92% debt to GDP ratio. So you can look at it and you see that COVID, Ukraine, Russia was not the root cause. It is a reckless borrowing that led us to be kicked out of the capital markets, that forced this government to engage in haircuts and destruction of pensioners and investments funds, hard-earned funds. It is that debt overhang, that reckless borrowing that has bedeviled Ghana's economy to date. And the ghost of Bawumia's reckless and feckless management of the economy is still haunting Ghanaians as we speak. Because it is that same bad debt, that led to the heavy depreciation of our currency. It is the same thing that then translated into inflation, which rose to as much as 54.1% in December 2022. And so instead of singing a chorus of excuses, Bawumia should be doing his mea culpa and be apologizing to the good people of Ghana. In fact, instead of even Bawumia should be apologizing to the good people of Ghana and walking off the political pitch in utter shame. How can a lying one still have the effrontery to peddle untruths on his economic achievements whilst clearly playing ostrich to all the gargantuan failures of his government? Any decent politician who wreaks such havoc on Ghanaians should be exiting politics and apologizing and not claiming to be the best candidate as he appeared to. We must also notice that all this Ukraine and Russia drama that Bawumia brings out is clearly showing that either the MPP is unappreciative of what managing an economy is, or is being deliberately untruthful. Because every economy faces what we call external shocks. For example, when the NDC took over in 2009, there was a full-blown financial crisis, global financial crisis, what many now refer to as the Great Depression, after the last one in the 1930s. It was so bad that you had banks collapsing in the UK, in US, you had the Eurozone debt crisis in Greece that literally went bankrupt, you had the Dubai financial crisis, and yet the NDC managed the economy through that. Within 2-3 years, in 2013-14, we had the commodity price crunch, which got many commodity prices suppressed, or if you like, collapsed. Cocoa and gold prices came down. We all know that cocoa and gold are our main foreign exchange earners. Then Ebola didn't go too far by 2015. And so the NDC government went through some of these shocks as well, but it was still a better manager of the economy, as we will demonstrate shortly. And so the MPP cannot use COVID and Ukraine, Russia as a justification for their recklessness, fecklessness, and incompetence in managing economy. Now, Bawumia makes some very, very interesting assertions when it comes to the economy. And I would like us to go through some of them briefly. He talks about GDP growth, and he deliberately brings out a graph that seeks to show that the MPP is better than the NDC when it comes to the measure of economic management. Clearly, we were very saddened to see the lying one deliberately cherry-picking and deceptively manipulating statistics to paint the MPP as a better manager of our economic growth. Now, we must know that Bawumia has been vice president and chairman of the economic management team since 2017. President Mahama was also vice president and chairman of economic management team from 2009 to 2012, and then president thereafter to 2016. Therefore, we would expect that any normal human being seeking to do a comparison between President Mahama and Vice President Mahmoud Bawumia's records on economic management, or NDC and MPP record, should be comparing the 8-year period of NDC from 2009 to 2016 to the nearly 8-year period of the MPP and Bawumia from 2017 to date. That is what any normal person would do. But as we will see shortly, Bawumia did something completely different. Bawumia was comparing apples to oranges in this context. Now, when we go and use the World Bank's, the data set, World Development Indicators data set, we're able to get all of Ghana's economic growth figures going as far back as we want. Now, when you take that data from 2009 to date, what you will find is that President Mahama and the NDC recorded an average growth rate of 9.02% over the first 4 years of their tenure from 2009 to 2012. It then increased to, in the second term, they recorded an average of 3.9% between 2013 to 2016. Comparatively, Bawumia and the MPP only recorded 5.3% in their first 4 years. So NDC had 9% in their first 4 years, 2009 to 2012. MPP had 5.3% in their first 4 years, 2017 to 2020. Then MPP recorded only 3.2% in their second term to date. And this is if you add the projections that have been realized, at least for 2023, we know it's going down as 1.5%. As of October last year, the World Bank confirmed it. And that's part of the forecast that was agreed to by the same MPP as part of the extended credit facility that was given to us in February, May last year by the IMF. When you graph that out and you average it out using Bawumia's own lab for averages, you get 3.2% in their second term, which compares to 3.9% for NDC's second term from 2019 to 2016. What does Bawumia do? Bawumia knows this very clearly. And in fact, if you do 8-year averages, you see that MPP only records 4.43% economic growth average from 2017 to date. In fact, if you can project it and add the 2024 one, you get 4.43. If you remove 2024 and only use the actual that is forecast to be executed in 2023 because we finished 2023, you get 4.23. NDC 8 years 2009 to 2016 6.47, at least 2 percentage points on average higher than the MPP. Now Bawumia knows this, so what does Bawumia do? Viewers will recall that Bawumia provided a graph. He chose to go and take NDC's second term rate of 3.92 and compare to MPP's first term rate of 5.3. If this is not dishonesty, what is it? You should be comparing first term to first term, second term to second term, because the dynamics for each are the same. Now, I will shortly show you a graph and compare Dr. Bawumia's claims to what we in the MPP believe is our proud record. Now, if you look at my screen for a second, and bear with me, you would see we have collected data since 2000 all the way to 2023. I've plugged in 1.5 because that's what was confirmed as of October last year as part of the records. It was previously 1.6 for 2023, revised downwards to 1.5% as of October last year by IMF World Bank. Now, look at this graph and you see a beautiful bell curve. Where you see it in blue, that's MPP. Where you see it in green, that's NDC. In 2000, the NDC recorded 3.7% economic growth and handed over to President Kufuor, who took it, as you can see, incrementally to about 9.5% before the NDC took over. We didn't complain because, bear in mind, 2009 was when a lot of the financial crisis hit us. Yet we didn't complain. Yet we didn't, if you like, record bad economic growth. The NDC grew it to the highest record of 14% in 2011. And even when we were going through doomsaw, a phenomenon that has been with us since 1984, that was exacerbated in 1998 and again around 2004 when President Kufuor sent pastors to Akosombo to go and pray for water to cure it. When we were going through those harsh realities, commodities, global commodity price challenges, Ebola, our own internal power crisis, we still recorded an outgoing rate of 3.4% approximately and handed over to the MPP. As we saw, by the time 2017, the fruits of our work chipped in, you could see it went back to 8.3, 8.1, and then 6.2. When the MPP's economic record kicked in, we crashed to 0.5%. And since then, it's come down, it went up to 5.8, and it's 2022 was 3%. Last year, 1.5. Next year, its budget is programmed to be at about 2.8. So, looking at this, the graph tells you that economic performance goes up under the NDC, and you can see the MPP has been blowing it down. Now, if you do the averages, you'll see clearly the data I was talking about. NDC first term 9%, MPP 5% first term. Second term NDC 3%, MPP 3.9, MPP 3.2. 8-year average NDC 6.4, MPP 4.4. This is clear data. Bawumia and his team should go use the World Development Indicators data on the World Bank, collect all of them. Incidentally, the data analysis here agrees with Bawumia. He takes our 3.9 here, which is in his speech, and compares to their 5.3. He should compare term for term, and let's see who is who. When you now say, let's go with President Mahama, who is a historian, versus Bawumia, who is an economist, look at what you get. From 2009 to 2016, look at how tall these graphs are. That is President Mahama's achievement, the nation builder. Look at Bawumia's record. You see, it's all declining, going. This is what Bawumia was scared of when looking at the real data. And the sources are all there. These are not coming from anywhere. If you then go to the average that Bawumia was peddling, I'd like viewers to focus on these two graphs here. This top one here is the NDC's record. This bottom one here is what the MPP claims to be the average. Average first term, see NDC 9%, MPP 5%. Second term, 3.9, 3.2. Total average, NDC 8-year average 6.4, MPP 4.4. And yet Bawumia somehow takes this same data and look at what Bawumia got. In the first place, why did he cut out and start from 2016, 13 to 16? Who was in power from 2009 to 2012? Why is he ashamed of putting that data out? Where did he get these averages where he's repeating himself? He was too scared to bring the proper NDC picture because he knew it would dwarf his performance. That's the level of dishonesty we do not want. Bawumia then proceeds to go into industry. We know industry is a subset of GDP, the average GDP, overall GDP. He talks about agri. I'll just pick just the industry because we can talk about the rest, but we don't want to go too far. You come into industry, and unfortunately for him again, our record as the NDC under President Mahama is head and shoulders way above the NPP. I will let the graphs speak for themselves. Look at this. Bawumia tells us that they have a superior economic performance. And again, look at the Sakawa graph that Bawumia gave us. But let you look at this line graph and see where it is going. You can see that industry under President Mahama from 2009 as chairman of economic management team soared to as high as 41.6%. We handed it over at roughly about 4%, just a little over 4%. Look at what the NPP did with it. They crashed it down to negative 2.5%. And as we speak, as of last year, it went down to negative 1.2%. That is the real data, the full picture. No manipulation, fully there. And again, you can get it from the same World Development Indicators. Now, look at it from the perspective of your bar charts. You can see how tall the NDC's charts stand. And look at how dwarfish the NPP's stand. We are currently at what? Minus 1.2 on industry growth, which means that we have got what? A shrinking of industry growth, no growth at all. Again, look at the numbers there. MPP first-term industry growth 16%, NDC first-term industry growth 16%, MPP 7.5. Second-term NDC 2.9, MPP negative 0.25. These are the averages for each of them, if you even include their 2023 and 2024. So 8-year average each, NDC stands tall at 9.5%. MPP can't even do half of it at 4.1%. And yet, when you come to his graphs, these are the two graphs. You can see NDC's proud record here, first term there, less than half of MPP gets less than half of NDC. Same here, second term, MPP actually records a negative on cost. And you look at the overall 8-year averages, 9.4 to 4.1. Somehow, Bawumia manages to discover. So you can see clearly that he has chosen to pick our second term of average of 2.9 and compare to their first term average of 7. You can see the numbers exactly. Again, very deceptive. Why would you be comparing your class 6 P6 results to another person's SSE WAEC results? Bawumia knew that the true picture will paint him for the economic fraud that he is. Let's go quickly into gross international reserves. Bawumia makes noise and says that they have a superior record to Ghana. However, what Bawumia has forgotten is that they gave some data to the World Bank as part of their application for the IMF loan. If you go into that same data, this is a graph from Bawumia and the economic management team. You can see the source there is Ghanaian authorities and IMF staff calculations. It shows our gross international reserves from about just under 5 billion in January 2016. It grows to about exactly 5 billion by January 2017 when they took over. Look at where we are now, barely a billion. And yet this man tells us that what is the real picture here? You can see it from January 16 month to January 2023. Those of you who are inclined, go and look for the IMF Extended Credit Facility document for May 2023 and look at it. You will see this graph there. The same person who supplied data that showed that their sunk was down to this level is now giving us this graph here to show that they are superior. Where is Bawumia picking his data from? Why will the whole vice president of the Republic of Ghana engage in such barefaced untruths and deliberate distortions of data? It's because he's ashamed of his record. Let us go into exchange rates. On exchange rates, the NDC inherited an exchange rate of 1.2 to the dollar in 2009 from President Kufuor. And we handed it over at 4.2 on January 7, 2017 to the MPP. MPP took it from 4.2, and as we speak now, is approximately 12.6. Now, when you look at this picture and you look at what Bawumia says they have gone through, then you realize that there's something not quite right. But let me not use the market rate of 12.6. Let us go to Bank of Ghana, where Bawumia used to work. Let us look at what records they hold. They do interbank forex rates, which are usually lower than the market one. And we know we are going to use the mid rate, not the sell or buy, the mid, because the sell rate is always higher, the buy is often lower. We use the mid rate. Let's see what the picture tells of Bawumia's Bank of Ghana, where he used to work, where he still works with them as member of the economic management team and a vice president. Look at the performance of the CD. This is a simple line graph from January 2009, 1.2. You can see it going there, and I've gone to pains to make sure the numbers are there. You see, it went as high as 13.1 in November 2022, and this is just for December month ends. But I couldn't help but putting in the November figure here just to tell Bawumia to go and look at his data. We currently stand at over 12. How is it then that we who handed over to them at roughly 3.8, 4.2 in January 2017 are worse off than they who have what? Taken it from 4.2 to 12.8. We, the NDC, increased it by 3 currency points from 1.2 to 4.2 in 8 years. They have taken it up by as much as 8.4 currency points from 4.2 to about 12.1 in the same what? Almost 8 years. How is this? Just look at the graph. Look at how smooth this was all the way till December, right? Now they took it, tried to smooth it up to 2021 when their policies were in full swing. You see how the CD was dancing Palugo and Agbaja? And yet the gentleman tells us that he is a better manager. Look at it in a bar graph format. The green is for NDC, the blue is for MPP. You see how smooth this was rising gradually? That is testament to what? A very efficient and good management of your currency. Look at how it started jumping around like a yo-yo under the MPP. As high as 13.1% and then down now to 12%, and we don't know where it will be by Christmas. Compare that graph to what Bawumia has here. Yeah. Compare that to what Bawumia has for us here, and you can see the deception in it. Now, let me go to jobs. Bawumia claims that they created 2.1 million jobs, with about 1.2 in the public sector. Sadly for Bawumia, you see, there was a population and housing census recently. For 2021 population and housing census, it tells a completely different picture. What does it say? It tells us something interesting, and we'll come to that. But briefly, if Bawumia claims that he has created 1.2 million jobs in the public sector alone, as of December 2022, Ghana Statistical Services Earnings Inequality Report shows that the total number of public service workers on the payroll for December 2022 was 688,000. That's rounded up from 687,984 to be precise. How is it then that you have payroll of 688,000 in December 2022, and yet Bawumia claims he created 1.2 million jobs as of December 2022? So technically, Bawumia is telling us that you had 1.2 million jobs in Ghana, but only 600,000 of them were being paid, which doesn't make sense. Let's add to that. If Bawumia has created 1.2 million jobs, something interesting happens. As of 2016, the total unemployment rate, the unemployment rate for those aged 15 and above was approximately 8.4%. By 2022, it shot up to 13.4%. And when you even look at the specific details, and this is where you look at a beautiful graph here, 13.4% for those aged 15 years and older. When you break it down to specifically the youngest working population between 15 to 24 years, you actually get as high as, you actually get over 35%. Now, how do you move from 8.4% to these ridiculous numbers, and yet you claim you created 1.2 million jobs? It doesn't make sense. Now, let us look at it from another perspective. Total unemployment as of 2016 was just over 1,027,000 people unemployed in 2016, with unemployment rate at 8.4% for 15 and over. By the time of 2022, we now have it sitting at 1.7 million. And yet Bawumia claims that he has created 1.2 million jobs. So he took 1 million job vacancies. He created 2.1, which means we should now have a surplus of what? 1 million. But suddenly, he's got a deficit of 1.7. So there's a deficit of 2.7 million jobs that we don't know where they are going. Again, you see the deceptiveness in Bawumia. Now, having said all this, we don't have time to go through all of the 4 hours worth of untruths and barefaced lies. Let me quickly, with the permission of my producers, permit me to go into just 2 more items that focus on Bawumia's deceitful and feckless vision. First one, Bawumia says he's going to introduce a flat tax. Now, we expected Bawumia to know better. Currently, Ghana's tax rate is we have a progressive tax system where those that earn the lowest pay a lower rate of tax compared to those that earn higher. And so the tax rate starts at 5% for your first 110 Ghana cedis income, monthly income, which is about 490 cedi. So first 490 cedi, you don't pay tax on it. The next 110, you pay 5%. So the lowest tax rate is 5%. And it goes as high as 35% for where your income exceeds 50,000. So any portion of your income exceeding 50,000 will suffer a 35% tax. This is an example of what you call a progressive tax rate, where those who earn more get to pay a bit higher, so that the shoulders that are broader bear a larger burden of tax. World over, that is what you call a progressive tax system, bringing in income for development. Bawumia is now proposing that he will bring in what you call a regressive tax, flat tax. What does that mean? If let's assume that he decides to put the flat tax rate at 10%, it means that man earning 100,000, who under the current regime will be paying a high tax rate of 35%, will pay the same 10% rate as the man earning just 3,000 a month. How is this fair? So you are going to now have a situation where not only are those who earn less suffer a higher burden of tax, but Bawumia's cronies and friends who earn the huge sums of money, and you all know all their special assistants and bloated appointee lists that are giving huge sums and drawing free fuel for their V8, they will all also be paying just 10% on their 100,000 plus salaries a month. And my poor brother, the watchman there, or the typist or the cleric there, clerical staff there, who are earning 4,000, the teachers, the nurses, the policemen who are earning 5,000 will also suffer the same level of tax as Governor Addison's earning over 120,000 Ghana cedi a month. If this is not giving a huge tax break to his cronies and friends and punishing the poor, then what is it?
I just want you on that particular note. That's a really good stopping point there. Well, I will definitely come back to you. But if you just hold on that particular bit of the cronies enjoying and all of those, our poor people really struggling with, the quality of life.
My brother, if I can have just 5 minutes, I wanted to wrap up on the cost of living and inflation. Right. So just give me 5 minutes, please.
Okay.
Now, one of his other visions, and I've talked about his tax, he says he'll reduce the cost of living. The question Bawumia should have asked us, how much has he reduced the cost of living over the last 8 years? As chairman of economic management team and vice president, how has he done that? What we have rather seen is that he has supervised a very high inflationary environment over the last 8 years to a high of 54.1% in December. As we speak now, it's 23% and it's now going up again. And yet he says he will give us what he hasn't been able to give us for the last 4 years. And I just want to look at a few records in here. When the NPP took over from President Kufuor, we inherited inflation at 18.2% as of December 2008. By the time we were handing over, we handed over 15.4%. And the NDC recorded the longest uninterrupted consecutive single-digit regime of 32 months between June 2010 to February 2013. NPP, on the other hand, has only managed 24 consecutive months of single-digit inflation between April 2018 to March 2020. If you look at the graphs, this is what Bawumia's record looks like. Just take a good look at it. I want you to finish off by this. The man who says he's going to make your cost of living easier, this is what he's giving you. NDC is in green, MPP in blue. As I said, we inherited 18.2. We took it there. You could see how we managed it well. We left it at 15.4, lower than we inherited. MPP inherited it. See where they took it to, and they're going to leave it higher than they inherited. So, my brothers and sisters, it is very clear that Bawumia himself has even abandoned himself. Even his blue economy rubbish that he started talking about, he has abandoned it. The records show that Bawumia is a hopeless, feckless, and incompetent manager of Ghana's economy. And Ghanaians should not make any mistake of enduring any further hardship under him. We will take more questions and address any of these in detail. But for now, this is the gospel according to the economic history of Ghana. And it clearly shows that President Mahama and the NDC are superior managers of the economy on every single metric. Bawumia knows it very well, and therefore Bawumia is deliberately distorting and falsifying records to bail himself out. We'll speak again in a short while. Thank you.
Absolutely. We definitely will speak again because you're not going to leave this hanging on us. We'll be coming back with some more questions on it. But honestly, I don't know how our viewers, how you are feeling right now, but I can tell you, I'm kind of like slumping into my chair because the kind of information I'm getting here and the level of exposure is just incredible. And that is what the show is all about today. You need to understand that this whole business of NPP peddling all those lies, we are not interested in people going out and say, oh, why are you coming after us? Why are you insulting us? It's about using the data to support the argument that we're making. And that's what the NDC is going to stand for. It is the truth that we're going to be putting out there. So I want this to be very clear. The viewers out there, what we're doing is using our own data. Because for me, I'm just sitting down here and today, the kind of information I'm getting, looking at it holistically, they can go on with anything about Russia, Ukraine war, COVID-19, all of this sort of things. The summary of it is you can't really punch those as your bags because roughly we have seen it very clearly. Chairman Conrad is making a picture very, very clear that, listen, you had certain things to deal with. You know, you could have used some of those Ukraine or COVID-19 could have been served as really good leverage, but unfortunately, they decided not to. Dishonesty has been the word today. We can see it very much running through data distortion. This is something that a lot of us don't really consider, but that's what they are doing. Every single now and then they pick one data, purge it on one that doesn't, it's not even comparable. But as I said before, how many of our brothers and sisters actually, there's too much, they say so a lot of people don't really even have time to look at the data. So we just rely on the everyday word of mouth and say, oh yeah, he's doing something great. And that is about to stop today. Right, with much ado, I'm going to be speaking to Ken Johnson. Ken, I think you've been listening to Conrad, and obviously you have a lot more to say, but just before you go into your bit, I want you to have this in mind because I have been watching through, looking at YouTube. There is that much running, and people are saying, look, give Bawumia benefit of the doubt. He's just been the driver mate. Come on. He's going to be put in the driver's seat, right? And for me, you think, actually, he was a driver mate, so he should be a man of his own. Go for it. What were your takes on that speech? Where are you taking us to? I can't hear you. Unmute yourself, Ken.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you, Alfred, and good afternoon to your viewers. I think for me, I was disappointed because I was disappointed in myself spending my precious time to listen to the man or watch him for the first time speak live, because most of the times I do go after the recordings. And so the first thing that came to my mind was there's no conviction. It's purely lack of conviction. There is nothing in there which is new. And I'll point them as we progress, because if you come, for instance, and say Ghana is endowed with minerals, for instance, and therefore we should be able to invest in it. The question I asked myself, what have we done so far with the already found minerals and the processes? Because I'm looking at value in that sense. And that was not in any any shape or form spelled out in the speech. It is said that, well, he is not the person that was in charge, and he was only given an adversary role. Meanwhile, he was given to the MPP at the time that he was the economic wizard, and therefore the party needed him to go and win an election. So how come that you've been given that portfolio and now you are running away from your own shadow? Where can you now hide? There's nothing for him to, there's nowhere for him to hide. And it goes about, from even the clips that you shared before the show, he goes about talking about the fact that when he came to power, he decided to focus on digitalization. And I think that is where I would want to focus my presentation on. The digitalization drive for Bawumia, to me, is something that speaks volume of the man's character. A man who can lie to his in-law means that he can also lie to his wife, as simple as that. And that is why today we are where we are. But let me just say a small thing I did. I did a small, I think you are sharing the wrong slide, Richmond. I shared, I did a small academic work on his speech, and I looked at for the word of digital in the speech, and I counted 58 times being used in a speech, 58 times used.
That's interesting.
Digitalization, digital. So anybody can have a look at that. Then the first thing that came was he decided to pitch a portfolio for himself, and that portfolio was for him to focus on Ghana's digitalization drive. So the question is, you cannot embark on a digitalization drive in this day and age and think that you will see the fruits immediately, because digitalization does not just happen, it's a process. So therefore, something must have been done before you deciding to embark on that journey. For instance, he talks about the fact that there was a need for Ghana Card to come in, or Ghana Card. But Ghana Card had already existed before Bawumia became vice president. And that is where I begin to ask myself, by the way, Bawumia went to a private school in the United Kingdom. Buckingham University is a private university. So, you know, when you go to a private university, the requirements are different from the public university, you know. And I think that what he was doing was just in a somewhat plagiarizing without giving recognition to the people who have done the work for him to even get an idea. And I'll speak to you why. President Mahama, when he was a vice president, and that president, the late president, Ivan Satalos, made a conscious argument. Don't forget, he had a record of being a communications minister. Made a conscious argument that we needed to expand the economy through technology. And that record is there. Nobody can take that record from him. And that brought about, in 2008, the National Information Technology Agency, which then became an act of parliament. Having created that, it now became an element or an agency under the ministry to look into information technology, which is the foundation for digitalization. A lot of people seem to get confused with digitizing and digitalizing. Digitizing is only turning papers into e-copies. That is simple terms, just for simple explanation. Digitalization looks at the infrastructures you have and making all the systems you have to work in order to be able to achieve value. And that is what Mahama was saying, because that we are talking about the economy. Conrad has spoken much about the economy, so I do not intend to talk much about it. I'm talking about the process. If you go to the next slide, Richmond, please. You see? So the question is, how do we move into a digitalized world? We need three things. Purely, and forgive me for this small academic work. It's very important for people to understand what we are doing here. You want to optimize, you want to be able to recognize your surroundings or ecosystems by doing some sort of research and embarking on the project through planning and strategies. Optimization is this. We realize that people were complaining back in the days about passport acquisitions. So the government decided to now make it possible for people to apply for their passport online. And this happened under NDC, under Mahama. It was not Bawumia that brought it. It is in this speech. As we progress, I'll show you the pages. The government also decided to go into what we call the e-governance project. This happened under Mahama. So Bawumia goes about talking about the fact that he wanted to make governance accessible And the government of Ghana has always been accessible. The problem we have is we still have system not functioning to their full capacity. And that is why it was going to be a drive. Hence my definition, why I'm saying Bawumia is a liar. He could have just said, well, when we came in, the government had done A, B, C, and D, and we thought that we could improve on it. So we have also moved it from F, G, I, and Z, something like that. It makes sense. People know that somebody made their start and you came to continue it. He said, I decided to pick up digitalization as a drive. Let me be honest with you. Google came to Ghana not because Bawumia went to the Silicon Valley to speak to people. Google came to Ghana because Google knew that we have the infrastructure in place. And that infrastructure was the most fundamental thing for any industry business to embark on digitalization. I've talked to you about the optimizations point of view because you've got the base there, which means that you can now think about how to harness or improve on your system. Okay, so digitalization only helps businesses to achieve efficiency and automate. Today in Ghana, if you have a Ghana card or not Ghana bank card, you can go to any ATM machine and withdraw your money. This happened before Bawumia became vice president. So I don't know why he'd want to take credit for something he has not done. I don't know why he thinks that because he's calling himself Mr. Digitalization, obviously, if I can use my Absa bank card at the commercial bank, it means that it is through Bawumia's efforts. That is pure lies. That is pure lies. Anybody who understands digitalization means that, okay, the government decided to embark on certain practices. And if you look at the practices, Mahama said, look, we have a growing population. Our people are growing. We have issues with housing. We have issues with jobs. We have issues with the way we assess government. And how do we make sure the people can get the best out of the services or the taxes they pay? So if you look at studies about how businesses have moved into digitalization, what they do is they look to compose the challenges into categories or cluster of events. And that is when Harvard came in. Harvard University did a brilliant job. And that job, what they look at, they look at the people as a resource, they look at the data, they look at retrospectives, and then you now look at the value for your returns on investment. Bawumia says that when they came, they have increased the Ghana card production to about 17 million. Now, you and I know that there's so much of corruption around that time. How many Ghanaians actually have the Ghana card? Those of us from abroad, we were able to go and pay 250 Ghana cedis, some instances 400 Ghana cedis for you to get a Ghana card in the same day. The ordinary man in the street cannot pay 250 Ghana cedis. So the access to the e-governance is still a problem. I'm talking about value to what we have done. But Bawumia said, look, let's educate our people. They send people to go and study ICT. And that is why the government decided at the time of Bawumia to introduce the Accra Digitalization Center or the Accra ICT centers and other places that there has been so much investment. You cannot do digitalization without any infrastructure. I have mentioned that to you. And in his speech, he said that we came in and we have now been able to move the number of acquisitions into government processes and those on government platforms into 90%. That is also a lie. The construction of the National Communication Authority happened under Mahama. And that was one of the reasons why Bawumia could go to Silicon Valley and say, look, we have all these infrastructures in place. We have all these professionals to give you the assurances. Bring your business to us as your AI center. And Google took advantage of that. But Google's work in Accra has not even been that fruitful. And therefore, they have concentrated on doing certain basic stuff, which is true. Talk about the Ghana Post. Bawumia says he brought Ghana Post into play. You know how much has been gone or has been sunk into Ghana Post. He doesn't want to talk about the corruption practices over every project that he has touched. The Zipline project, he doesn't want to talk about it. Everywhere Bawumia goes, there is a cancer of corruption. He knows it, and he doesn't want to talk about it. He said, my job was to advise. But how can an economist who now want to become an IT expert, does not want to be part of the procurement. I don't understand that. He must be able to tell us. He must be able to understand the expenditures that goes in there, whether it is even viable. I'm talking about value here. The E-Information Center and again happened under Mahama. Today, Parliament is accessible. You and I can watch parliamentary proceedings because Mahama made it possible. That is digitalization, for you to think about. Today, people are able to have university education or classes online. That happened because of Mahama. And Mahama made it possible because he was able to expand on our fiber optic infrastructure. About 100-kilometer fiber optic network was created from Accra to Bonko. That made it possible for our friends and family members in the Asante region, in the Volta region, in the Upper East and Upper West to also access internet. And that is why we have a lot of these digital TV systems in Ghana today. It is not Bawumia that brought all these things into play. So my question I asked Bawumia is, what sort of investment have you made in this drive of your so-called digitalization? And there's nothing in there. There is nothing in there. All we can hear is that we have spent this amount of money, but the value is never there. Bawumia goes about saying, well, we have made it accessible for secondary schools to have Wi-Fi's. I remember very well, before 2015, the government was talking about WiMAS because at the time they thought it was very necessary for people to access information. That is why when you're at Accra, Kotoka International Airport today, there's a free Wi-Fi there. It's free because it was a project under Mahama. And if you go to some hospitals, they have also come on board. The question that you say that, okay, we created about 722 Wi-Fi to every secondary school in Ghana. That is even a lie. According to MPP's own manifesto in 2020, they had recounted that the number of secondary schools in Ghana was 710. I'm not aware of any public secondary school that has been established since 2020. And in that manifesto, Bawumia or MPP themselves said that they had made it possible for all these secondary schools to be on the Wi-Fi system. GES came out to say, no, it is not possible. We only have about 680 schools which are meant to be on stream with a Wi-Fi system. Bawumia made this lie in 2021, made the same lie in 2020, fast forward 2022, continue to say that we have 722 secondary schools and all of them have Wi-Fi. I'm not aware of that. And the figures are in. So we did a fact check. The Fourth Estate, which is an independent newspaper, also did the same thing. And they said, look, the man is telling lies. Now, if a man comes to you and tells you that it's going to rain, and you know yourself that the weatherman says that it is not going to rain, my brother, then you know that it's more than a soothsayer with no powers. And Bawumia can lie through his teeth to ensure that he distances himself from all the ills of Ghana. The economic problems we have is based on bad governance or bad procurement. As a result of Bawumia's drive for digitalization, there is no value in the work that he's done. There's nothing. Now, so to put in context, Mahama in 2015 had already earmarked 200 secondary schools to be on Wi-Fi, to free Wi-Fi services. So if for anything at all, Bawumia could have just said, look, when we came to power, we had 200 secondary schools having free Wi-Fi. And that project was sponsored by the World Bank. He didn't say that, so I'm the man, I have come and I've delivered all these things for you. But as I said to you, you cannot achieve digitalization drive without planning. And therefore, the infrastructure component cannot be taken away from that. I've told you how Mahama invested heavily in NCA and NITA and the fiber optics and making sure that we have their digital centers, making sure government systems are working in place. The man says, Bawumia on his contract is saying that we have now been able to achieve 90% of government and MMT agencies now able to be on the gov.gov portal. My brother, you and I know better than everybody. Go to Accra right now and say you're going to the Ministry of, say, Communication, even the Ministry of Communication itself, where Oslowusu is in charge, and say you want to send a message to the chief director. I'm very sure they will give you the chief director's Yahoo email address. They will not give you the chief director's official email address. So the fact that you have now got a news portal or a domain name does not get you onto the key platforms. Applications of these services were necessary, and Mahama had a plan. The plan was scaling it slowly. Unfortunately, Ghanaians didn't give him the power. But I think that the records of Mahama when it comes to digitalization is clear. You cannot say within 8 years we have achieved this. It's not possible. GPS came in on stream. Now everybody's asking what has been the value of the GPS, the Ghana Post address system. Do you know that even the banks are struggling to even have the GPS into their own server system because there's no plugins? And Google wanted to distance themselves from it. GPS, I mean, this day and everybody's phone can take you any address, but it is very necessary for businesses to be able to identify a person by where you live and how they can get to you. Up to now, it is not possible. And it goes about saying, no, we brought in GPS so that it can be very easy for business. Which businesses are now linked to the system, nobody knows. And we have spent over 2.5 billion US dollars on this project, which was a project in United Kingdom, in America, a basic A-level student could have designed for us. You see? And these are the problems. After 2015, we had a lot of ministries and agencies, departments hooked on into the government portal. These were records before Bawumia became a president or presidential candidate, you know. And then he goes about it. One of the statements he made, I think in page 22, that is what caught my attention more, is that I focus on the complementary data and the systems, 22 improvements that would ensure that some of these businesses can change their fundamentals. Okay, fair enough. So what have you done so far within the government system? We still have the corruption records, which is higher than what would have been recorded during Mahama's time. We still have NIA employees being sacked because they can speak about the ill fate of systems working. We still have a lot of these challenges with Kenry GVG, which is also on subject to digitalization. We still have a lot of people being asked to proceed on leave because they don't want to be part of the corrupt system. Under Mahama's administration, if you were found to have even mentioned corruption, you would be sacked. Akufo-Addo, Bawumia, Champion Atta, and his lieutenant are saying that he wants to be the next driver because his boss was fake. His boss could not deliver. But if you, Alfred, I happen to have my car and you are driving for me, and you bring me a mate, and he said to me that this is my mate, he's going to collect the money and ensure that passengers get in, on board, leave and pay, and come and make sales to you. And at the end of the day, you come in and say, Master, we made a loss. Am I going to fire you and keep the mate, or I will keep you, the driver, and fire the mate? This is what our man is telling Ghanaians. Incompetence, a classical. He has proven that all the collections he made for his boss, it is his boss' problem, it's not his problem. And that is what Bawumia is saying. Digitalization in the passport era happened under Mahama. I've mentioned that to you. So for me, my answer is simple. The man is not credible. He's deceitful. Yes. He can lie, and we shouldn't take him serious.
Thank you very much, Chairman Ken. We really appreciate that submission over there. Really very good one there. And like I said, I like the fact that you actually hone on digitization, and you've done great justice to that particular subject. And I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know about somebody probably want to share this with Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, because we are saying to him, we're not asking anybody not to go on any platform. You can do that. It is within your rights. It is within your remit. But when you do so, you should be well aware that we are coming after you with the facts. We will make things bare for Ghanaians to see where we stand. And we still have to one more of our speakers, a panelist that is going to be addressing us. But just before that, I am looking at our platform and too many comments, beautiful people just interacting with the platform. I'm going to take them random, then just share with you what is going on. So there are people who are sharing similar sentiments with us. And it says, I like this particular, it says, Kid Menard says, Bawumia is just like a vulture from this baller to that baller in search of food. And therefore, he was once called the economic whiskit. Today, he is master of digitization. That's the sort of person we are talking about. It's we've got what is it? And Yunam is saying that the least said about Bawumia, the better. The guys are they've totally lost it. Thank you very much, Yunam Mansa. Really beautiful comments there from you guys. And this is just coming from, I think, lots of people are commending you guys for what you're doing. You know, Chairman Conrad, first speaker, Ken, you've both done justice to that. We will be speaking more on these issues, but just before we, come back and take some few more questions, I would just want to give the opportunity to our last speaker for the day today, who is Elijah, Elijah Timop. Yeah, team up. So we're going to be speaking to Elijah. So Elijah, you've been patiently watching and listening to the show. You've heard from Conrad, you've heard from Ken. We just want you to also dig into. But whilst you're doing so, today I just want you to reflect on the entire speech of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And I want you to also think about if you have picked up any concerns in the speech, and if so, do you think the issues highlighted will in any way, have any influence on the Ghanaian voter? Because that is the issue at heart, isn't it? We are looking at what he's doing out there and how he will affect the people that we are going to go to, which is the electorate. So we just want to hear from you, and what is your take on those issues at hand? Thank you.
Thank you very much, my brother and comrade Alfred. I would like to take this opportunity to remind our viewers that Ghana is in dire straits, and that worries and concerns us in the diaspora, because believe it or not, I don't want to retire here in the United Kingdom. I want to go back home, enjoy some of my working life before retirement age. And if things continue on this tangent, I may not be able to do so the way I would plan to. So just to recap a little bit, my good brothers, Chairman Conrad and Chairman Ken, have painted a very bleak picture of this gentleman that has brought us together this morning. They've painted a picture of someone who cannot be trusted, somebody who shapeshifts, somebody who moves the goalposts when it suits him, and somebody who thinks the rest of us are stupid, and he is the only intelligent person Ghana has ever seen. I am going to bring my talk a little bit on the health side, because he mentioned quite a number of health initiatives that he thinks his government was proud of, and many more that they were going to undertake, which he thought would completely transform the health landscape. Like some of my colleagues have done, I want to do a little bit of what they've done, but also take a slightly different approach. People know that we are the NPP's nemesis. We are their political opponents. So we will unpick everything we say with a political fine-tooth comb. I'm not going to do that. I will leave that to independent authorities to do the fact-checking, and then we will find out whether indeed Dr. Bawumia was telling us the truth, or again, he was making up stories as he went along. Now, he mentioned a number of interesting facts about what they have done and what they plan to do in the healthcare arena. I've summarized some of them here. He mentioned they completed about 18 district hospitals, 2 regional hospitals, 20 polyclinics, and 75 CHIPS compounds, and yet to do a lot more of that. I have gone into global fact-checking websites. I've gone into African fact-checking websites. I've gone into Ghanaian fact-checking websites, and not a single one of them could corroborate this particular claim. So that leaves me to wonder whether Bawumia has made up this one as well as he's done others. What we are aware of them doing is they look at projects that are at various stages of completion, vast majority of which were started under the predecessor government led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, just as they've done in the digitalization arena and so many other areas, and claim it as something they have achieved. And you know, that is a pure lie. And you cannot look at Ghanaians in the eye and tell us such fantasy stories. Come on. You should be serious with us for once if you want to really run the country as the first gentleman of the land. He mentioned something which is not directly linked to healthcare, but has an impact on healthcare, and that is access to toilets, which he claims his government has taken it from 33% access to about 59% in 2022. Just last year, the government's own statisticians came up with this very claim, with facts to debunk this claim, the 2022 annual report. And in there, the average toilet facility availability or access in Ghana is no higher than 33%, just last year. And he is talking of 2022 that they brought it to 59%. I don't know which Ghana he's talking about. In certain regions, it's actually as low as 11%. You know, and we know availability to toilet facilities has a direct impact on healthcare provision and, you know, the health of the citizenry. He mentioned quite a number of things, including adding childhood cancers to the NHIS scheme, which are laudable if you want to look at it from that point of view. What he has not done is give us details of any funding. And we know that they are good at touting figures here and there, but nothing to back it up. No actual funding to back up how they are going to implement that. So yes, bringing it under the umbrella of NHIS is a good thing, but we know that every sector of the economy is suffering from hemorrhaging of funds. And what evidence do we have to believe that the NHIS is different? We know providers of services to the NHIS have several, in fact, up to 7 months of arrears in their payments. So people are providing services, they are not getting remunerated, you know, and the picture is bleaker and bleaker as time goes on. So Dr. Bawumia, again, is being economical with the truth here, and that is the wrong type of economics. We see him as an economic guru who should be doing things to improve our outlook as a country. Everything he does is rather, it looks like he's an expert in economics of truth, which is not what we want to see. So I've done something very, very simple. I won't mention all the things he said about health, but maybe just one more thing about the zipline drone drugs delivery service or medical delivery service he talked about. To start with, he assumed that NDC people and a lot of Ghanaians don't read. So he thinks he can just put any information out there and get away with it. The name of the CEO and co-founder of Zipline, he even got it wrong. He wrote it down as Robert Keller. You can do a simple Google search, read about the wonderful gentleman's resume. You will never find anybody called Robert Keller as a founder or CEO of Zipline. The name is Keller Clifton Ronaldo. And this is clearly written everywhere. So I don't know. That tells me either he never met up with him in Silicon Valley as he claims, because if you meet up with somebody at that level of government business, you will at the very least make the effort to get the person's name correct, because you are putting this out and people try to find out if this is actually a fact and the name is not there. I wanted to believe that he was making up a lot of stories. But then I went a little bit further and my own checks brought out the actual person's correct name. So from what you can see on your screen, I've done a very, very simple check, because believe it or not, I've said this several times, that the human resource is actually the most important resource that any country has. And there are plenty of examples around the world to prove that point. If you look at countries such as Japan or even in the United Kingdom where we reside, they have virtually no natural resources to talk about, but they are among the top 10 economies in the world, largely because of what their human resources have been able to do for their economies. And it is incumbent upon them to ensure, because if your people are not healthy, they cannot be economically productive. So the first thing you must do is ensure you have a healthy human resource who will then be able to maximize their economic potential. And Bawumia is very good at picking things that will make him look good out there, but are completely of no benefit to the people who are going to use it. And the healthcare arena is no different here. So I've done a simple search at the top 6 healthcare challenges that Ghana face. And you would expect that any government would be addressing some of the top problems that their country faces as far as healthcare is concerned. And guess what? Not a single one of them was mentioned in Bawumia's speech. He probably doesn't even know about them, and he believes he can take shortcuts and speak about digitalization, completely bypassing the economy that he was touted as being an economic whiz kid. So if you want to bring in healthcare as one of your achievements, at least bring in interventions that will be beneficial to the population. And these are some of the top 6 problems that face Ghana's healthcare. You see something called the no-bed syndrome. And for those of you who can remember, back in 2018, there was a 70-year-old man by the name of Anthony Achampong, who was severely ill and went from hospital to hospital, went through 7 or 8 different hospitals in our capital city, Accra, and could not find a single hospital with a bed that could admit him, and he ended up dying. This became a global story and something that I am not proud of as a Ghanaian to be associated with. We can do better than that. And Dr. Bawumia, please, please don't mess up with our healthcare system. Medical negligence is the number 2 on the list of problems that face our healthcare systems. Medical negligence is effectively defined as a healthcare professional doing something that all other professionals would not do, or not doing something that all other healthcare professionals would do. So what that means is, in a system where healthcare is run properly, negligence should be brought to the very minimum. It needs to be highlighted as a problem, dealt with it, and systems put in place to minimize its occurrence in the first place and its sequelae, whatever happens once that has taken place. So back in 2015, again, under an NDC government, our flagship 37 military hospital was punished severely. They were fined a whopping 1.075 million Ghana cedis for the death of a 27-year-old woman in the process of giving birth to a new life as a result of medical negligence. And we're talking of things like leaving certain surgical equipment inside somebody's body after surgery and sewing them up, not switching on an equipment that is needed during operation, and so many things like that. So it is important that you send a serious example that cannot be allowed to continue. And again, we set the example.
Wrap up for me. That would be great.
Need to be happening. Yeah, so you've got the slide up there, so I won't go through all of that. But I've also put a comparison on the right side, what the global standard indicators should be. So these will be available to share to the audience, so I won't go too much into them, but hopefully we will have more time to answer the audience's questions on these. So on healthcare, and I just want to read one health care facts that he mentioned that was fact checked. He said the MPP government, or his government, has improved infant mortality in 2022. And again, that was proven by fact check to be complete false. As a matter of fact, since 1960, because of health, WHO mediated interventions that have been going on in our country, infant mortality has been going down steadily over the years. And whether Dr. Bawumia's government did anything or not, it was going down anyway. So he cannot claim that as an achievement. That has been going down steadily under all governments as far back as 1960. So I'll leave it there for now, and hopefully we'll be able to address some of your questions for the benefit of time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elijah. Thank you for that beautiful submission over there. Thank you, our cherished viewers, for all those beautiful comments. We really appreciate every single comment that has been put out there. Of course, at this point, we will be expecting more questions coming in for any of the panels. If you want to ask a question, you're directing it to any of them, could you just make sure you mention their name and who you want the question to go to? But I must admit, like I said at the start, it is really, really a beautiful show. The opportunities here this afternoon is just great, because for us, it is that time of the year where we just need to be up on our game, making sure that we are dealing with the issues as they should. And I'm just looking at some of the very, very quick comments that I put down whilst I was listening to all of the panelists. It's always that, and that's me, because I sit here as a moderator, I'm learning a lot. Everybody in the back team, they are learning a lot, and we want you to also learn a lot about the things that have been put out there. So, from the very start, Conrad, talked about the level of dishonesty. And for me, when I looked at my notes, every single one of the panelists is looking at that aspect of Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's speech. Dishonesty, he lacks credibility. And I like this one so much. Conrad said Bawumia has abandoned himself. And sometimes you should start to see that is what you call the shift in his own position, isn't it? So things that he said in the past is coming after him, and he's running away from those shadows, which is just the very thing that we should start to look at and see how he's avoiding himself. Ken said he lacks conviction, which is not believable at all. And he also mentioned, which is a very strong point, he has no hiding place. And that is just a strong warning to say that we will come after any of those speeches that he put out there, no matter what. Elijah is talked about the lack of credibility again is coming up there, and thinking about the fact that toilet facilities, why do you have to go and lie about things like that? It just, for me, I sit back and I'm thinking, why? Credibility takes a long time for you to be able to craft for yourself. So when you start to be looked at as incredible, it is only in our part of the world people go, scot-free for lying to a nation. This part of our world, when you lie, it is, why do we do oath of office? You go and swear an oath of office, and then you go in and you don't do the things that you're supposed to do. You come out and tell the people, lies. It is enough for you to resign, but of course we know why they want. And I'm so touched with Elijah's no bed syndrome, which is, again, the thing that I always say, as our politicians need to take these things seriously. Because if people are dying and you can still stand on a podium and still lie about stuff, but our hospitals, our facility infrastructure is just not on at all. So no, this afternoon is really an eye-opener, and I think it is a great show, and I'm enjoying it, and I definitely know you are as well. Right, so just very quickly, I know we're still looking out for questions coming. We are going to take just few questions.
So just
I have a couple of questions.
I know we're still looking out for questions coming. We are going to take.
Okay, so just few ones. I'm going to go back, just do the reverse order. So if I go back to Chairman Conrad very quickly on your submission, but it's still looking at Dr. Bawumia's speech, because today that is all that we're going to be doing. We're looking at that speech, we're trying to forensically examine it, make sure that we unpick everything. Now, I always say NDC open minds. I just want to ask you, in your opinion, do you think there were any strength in that speech? I mean, we always want to give benefit of the doubt. You listen to it. Were there any strength in that speech at all? And how do you think generally the speech resonated with Ghanaians?
Thank you very much, Alfred. I think by one listening to the analysis we've gone through, it gives a clue as to the kind of character that he painted. I think it was one Dr. Hassan Ayarka, who said Bawumia was behaving like a DJ on the podium, the way he was moving his body around and stuff like that. But that spoke to a lack of confidence even in what he was doing. And there's an English term for that. The term is feckless. It depicts somebody who struggles with having any strength of character or any initiative, very ineffective, of course, inept, very incompetent. I wouldn't say without purpose, but with certain tones of irresponsibility. Here is a man who's been in charge of our economic management team for 7-8 years now. He's destroyed countless lives by hiking up inflation, hiking up unemployment, making sure we have over-borrowed ourselves down to the depths, destroyed the economy, put the economy at the highest debt profile ever that will take us another 40 years to pay for. Then he turns up, and instead of having an apology, he starts saying he actually got some of his people annoyed, the people who were even listening. I mean, some of the diplomats walked out midway through his speech. You could even look at the faces of his fellow MPP people. They were not really sure what was happening. Are we seeing something that is real, or did this man just drop from Mars and is saying something completely different? The man is not in control of himself. He started touting blue economy, and then I'm sure he's quickly realized that Wale has no sea. So if he talks about blue economy, where will you get that water from the Wale and all that stuff in terms of marine resources? He has abandoned that, not a single mention of it. He did not bother to go into inflation. He did not bother to tackle debt. The key things that he and his government have been responsible for destroying, he did not bother. Instead, he even had the guts to tell people that, oh, I hacked up emissions levy. We don't know what his view on it. He's in cabinet. He